go through San Francisco, I live in the Bay Area, and there's probably 50 billboards, and all of them say something about AI, right? Anybody that's graduated from university right now is thinking about, how am I going to fit into this AI? And again, Headspace is no different.
Shawna,
Hi.
thank you for joining us. So Shawna is currently at Headspace, formerly the VP of Talent at Take-Two Interactive. So people are probably pretty familiar with Take-Two Interactive and Headspace. So doing a lot of amazing stuff in the world of talent acquisition, and talent development, not just acquisition, but also development of said talent. So thank you for joining us. Shawna, why don't you give the audience a little bit of your background?
Yeah, sure. Nice to be here. Hi, Taylor. Hi, Shane. Hi, everyone. Let's see. I've been in talent development for about 15 plus years. And before that, I was in sales and sales management. So kind of had two careers, but been doing this for quite some time at some pretty large companies, pretty small companies, and everywhere in between. So from Microsoft to Pandora Radio to Fitbit to Take-Two to now at Headspace. So love what I do because it's all about developing and growing people in the company. And that's one of the reasons why they like to stay at the companies they're at, because they have growth and development opportunities. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome.
I'm curious, I look back at it and I know I'm in recruiting today. And if somebody said, Shane, 12-year-old you, 15-year-old you, do you think that you would be a recruiter today? And I would tell you, no. I probably would have been on the other side of Take-Two Interactive. I would have been like one of those little guys running around on the basketball court where, somebody was playing Shane Shown because I was going to clearly be, 7 foot tall and all of those things were going to happen. I didn't end up being 7 foot tall. I had, by the time I hit high school, I had a better odds of being a Jonas brother than I would a professional basketball player. But
bad odds for both.
Bad odds for both. I didn't have the musical talent to be a Jonas brother, nor the looks, and so I got stuck in recruiting. That was my that was the result of all of that. So I have to imagine you weren't necessarily going and you're like, I'm going to be in HR when I'm older.
I did not at all. In fact, I wanted to be a veterinarian. For some reason, I never went go to veterinarian school. So, but no, I started in sales, which I think is an awesome place to start because I think in every job you're always selling anyway. But I never thought I'd be here. But I did start in tech in sales a long time ago. And then I started just kind of creating presentations and started training people and stuff. And that's kind of how I moved into this. But psychology degree helps quite a bit in the role I'm in, I'll have to say.
So we went college, psych degree, got into the first time into sales.
Yeah.
Help us understand that, because there's a lot of people that maybe they're in college today and they're like, I really wish I'm going to get into this thing. And then all of a sudden you went down this other path and it got you to where you are today. And most people think that the job search is so linear, that they have to have it figured out while they're in high school today, right? Gosh, I feel like today's kids, they believe middle school, I have to know exactly what I'm going to do and I have to know my exact life. Everything has to be planned out or I'm going to be a failure. And like everybody's watching the Instagram, models and the influencers, and they're like, they have it all figured out. They're 16, they're millionaires. Like, I need to be that. And it's like, well, that's not how this works. It's not so linear. Help me there for a second.
It's interesting that you say that because I do have a daughter that just graduated from university that's starting grad school in January. So she is a PR communications and getting her master's in PR and communications. And, it's funny because I think, psychology, communications, marketing are kind of business in some cases is that kind of degree where you can almost do anything. Unless you're a master's PhD and you have a kind of a path you want to take, you can almost do anything. So, just don't pigeonhole yourself. I started in sales and it kind of pivoted to this, which I love now. But, sales, I find a lot of people, young adults coming out of university kind of start in sales. And that's a good start to either getting into product management or something different within the company. It's a great place to start. So, certain degrees certainly help with that and are open to more types of roles than other degrees. And psychology is definitely one of them. But keep your mind open because things happen in companies all the time. So if you're willing to kind of keep it open and think about what might work for you, because we don't know all the time, right? We just don't. And we find out what we like and what we don't like as we gain more experience.
And companies change.
And companies change, yeah, for
sure. Doors are open. Do you think it's important the friends you have at your company or, who you know, or What do you think guides that transition?
Yeah, well, I definitely have people that I've met in all the companies I've worked for that I do consider, people that I stay in touch with that are friends. Um, I think it's great to have friends at companies, but it's also great to have great networks and really know what you want to, what you like to do, what you don't like to do. And I think sometimes you just don't realize that until you move forward, right? Until you start doing some things and realizing, hey, this isn't for me, or hey, I really like this. What kind of jobs support this kind of thing? Right. I mean, I really liked getting up in front of people and training people. I really loved that. So I'm like, okay, what kind of jobs support this? Right. And then it's networking and within your company, outside your company, and so on. So yeah, it's attributed to kind of a lot of things.
So let's use your daughter as a case study, right? So she's getting her master's. She's going to graduate. We'll call it 2 years from now. What advice are you giving her when she enters the workforce? So
Yeah.
let's say she gets a job at Headspace, or Take-Two Interactive, or wherever, and she starts off in one department. We'll call it the sales department. What is your advice to her to make sure that she can be able to pivot into these other, whether it's product management or move into the HR side and so on?
Yeah. Now she's going to kind of a top school for her for PR communications. So we always talk to her about, really understand your network, right? Who you have to network with, who's in your network, who's graduated from that university, get to know these people, stay involved in your network. Because she said to me at one time, I want to work for Formula One. I'm like, hey, that's awesome, like in PR for Formula One, but you're not going to get that coming right out of school, right out of university, even with a graduate degree. So you're going to have to start, likely at the bottom, right? And you might be able to get into some companies through your network and so on. And she's, going to look for something in her profession in PR communications because she's going to grad school around that. But I just caution her and coach her that you're not going to get the big deals. You're not going to get the big gigs. You're not going to be like, hey, I work for Formula One or the NFL, or, you're going to have to go work at some probably smaller company for a little while and maybe not like it as much. And you got to work your way in, right?
Well, the interesting thing with what you're saying, Formula One is really hot right now, right?
Yeah.
But in 5 to 7 or 10 years, maybe when she's getting ready for that move to really kind of hockey sticking her career, Formula One might not be the hot entity. I'm not saying it will be nothing. Formula One's pretty hot right now because of the movie and everything and the Netflix and everything that's going around it. But in 7 years, it might be something wildly. It might be pickleball, right?
Exactly.
The National Pickleball League might be the next Formula One.
And by the way, when you're in your 20s, you might think you know everything, right? You come out and you're just like, hey, I know everything. And but you don't, right? There's a lot that you learn in your 20s. There's a lot of growth that happens out of university in your 20s. And just give yourself the opportunity to develop and grow, because you'll see that things change.
I have a 17-year-old, and he would disagree. He would let you know that he knows everything at 17.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
He's pretty self-aware.
Yeah, my favorite is when people are like so like tunnel visioned and going like, this is exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do nothing else, and it's going to be Formula One. And then all of a sudden they get that Formula One job and they don't realize that 90% of America is going to take a massive pay cut. They're going to work twice the amount of hours that anybody else is because they're selling their soul for this thing that they think is like the thing everybody wants, and they're fighting for it. So they're willing to make all these compromising decisions to get that job. And then they go, ooh, this isn't what I expected.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's what it is for Formula One. I could be totally wrong. And they could just be like, hey, Shane, like you're
don't dog
defaming us. You're dogging
Formula
us out.
One.
And it's like, well, okay, but like
Example.
how many people work for the Titans that are making like pennies on the dollar because they're working for the Titans? But that kind of leads me into like, was there ever a moment where like maybe you had an opportunity where you failed, you made a mistake, like you had these assumptions, you had these biases. I don't know, it could be one of anything, but it was an opportunity for you to like really learn really well early on in your career. That was like maybe a major failure, major flop.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you about a time, and I kind of it's interesting because most people would go, oh, that's really cool that you have this opportunity, but this is where I develop and grow and learn as an individual. But I once worked for a CEO directly that wanted to have things done their way. And I would challenge their direction with my own ideas, and thinking honestly that my own ideas were better in most cases or in some cases. And in some cases they might have been better. And in others, his or her might have been better as well. I was, very strong in my opinions, as was the CEO. And what I learned from that experience is that at the end of the day, what the CEO wants is usually going to be the direction you go. And I also learned that I could learn from that CEO in some cases and be more open to their ideas. So it was a kind of a big learning experience. But the other thing I also learned about this, that I didn't want to work directly for the CEO or the leader at the company, whether it's president, and that wasn't open to new ideas moving forward. So it makes it difficult to kind of choose your next role, as you really need to understand and ask, and kind of ask the right questions about innovation and change, right? When you're going to work for somebody, pick any leader, you want to make sure that they're open to change, to innovation. And you're not always going to be right. And you also have to be open to change and innovation. But I learned a lot from reporting into that individual.
So what do you do? So you're at Headspace. Tell us a little bit about Headspace now and some of the change that you see happening in how Headspace or the industry is moving. For those who don't know what Headspace is really prominent in the mental health space.
Yeah, in the kind of the wellness world. Yeah, I'm working with them, and like everybody. And I was going to mention this with adults coming out of university. There's a lot going on with just new technology, right? AI is changing how we look at everything, and even some roles in the industry. And it's not, it's no different for Headspace. So a lot of the things that we're looking at there from a talent management, talent development perspective is how do we kind of move into a data-driven decision-making, easier for everybody, information at your fingertips world, right? So it's looking at, from a talent development perspective, how do we do that from, on teaching individuals, developing and growing individuals? What kind of platforms do we need? What kind of tools should we be looking at? How do we get information at their fingertips? Is it through creating, personalized chat GPTs? What do we need to do to kind of bring them forward with AI? Because it's the hot thing right now. Of course, everybody talks about it. You go through San Francisco, I live in the Bay Area, and there's probably 50 billboards and all of them say something about AI. Right? It's just here and it's here to stay. So and I think every company is going through this. Anybody that's graduated from university right now is thinking about, how am I going to fit into this AI? And again, Headspace is no different. We're just thinking about, how do we make it work better, data-driven, information at your fingertips, so people can do their jobs better and companies can be more, progressive moving forward.
Yeah, well, AI is here to stay. Wow.
It is.
You heard it here first. We are breaking news.
I know.
Everyone is talking about AI. It's like this, it is the hot button issue or the buzzword.
It was like the .com in the olden days, right?
Do you see the same thing happening where .com, obviously when you hear the .com, a lot of people think, the .com bubble. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously .com or the internet didn't go away, but it definitely iterated from where it was in the late 90s.
For sure it did. Yeah.
So do you see that happening with AI?
It's definitely evolving, right? The .com internet evolved as well. And having gone through some of that, it was a huge change at the time. And people were jumping ship in big companies, starting up all their own small startup companies, and then coming back to the big companies. There was a lot of kind of chaos happening at the time. And I think it's similar in that vein, that, there's some, companies are not, I wouldn't say they're scrambling, but they're trying to figure out how to do business, from an AI perspective and how to integrate it into their business. And people are figuring out how do I, stay relevant as an individual, looking at AI, how does it fit within what they do? So, but it's changing, and it will continue to change, and it's a big deal. And if people aren't thinking about it, they should be, right? It's the same thing about the .com and the bubbles and the startups that happened 25 years ago, right?
Well, it's really interesting, especially in the healthcare space, where people are talking a lot about how number one issue in the U.S. is it has nothing to do with our physical health. Our physical health is predominantly built off of like our social perception on what we're seeing on the internet, and we have more of a mental health problem than we do a physical health problem. And part of that's eating habits, it's exercise, it's discipline. And so discipline and exercise is rooted in your brain, not necessarily in everything else. And so I was talking to somebody the other day where they were like, physical health is not the problem. It's discipline, it's eating habits, it's anxiety, it's depression, whatever it might be. And it's like this perpetuation of like, let's just keep talking about it and ruminating. And I think that there are companies out there that are really starting to help with a lot of that. But, one of the things I wanted to get into is like when I'm thinking about people that are ruminating and thinking and struggling, maybe in their job, maybe in their role. I always think that role models and the people that we have in our lives that are mentors early on are people that like help us maybe get out of that funk or identify us as individuals that allow us to grow and to evolve.
Yeah.
And I'm curious that, earlier on in your career, because you got into a really high place, VP of Take-Two Interactive, and there's people, and you've held plenty of other jobs that people were like, they would fight tooth and nail their entire career to like hopefully and potentially hold a title that you've had, and you've had multiple career breaking titles. So I'm curious as to like, did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody that tapped on your shoulder? Did you raise your hand? Like, what did you do to get there? And did you have, I'm really just curious. Was there a mentor? Was there a role model? What was there that got you to go through the ranks that allowed you to be able to achieve what you've been able to achieve in your career?
Well, I'll say right off, I've been doing this for a while, so some of it is just maturity, right? Because I've been doing it for a long time. But going throughout, I think a great leader is a servant leader, and we've all probably heard that term, right? And a servant leader is somebody that basically helps other people or serves other people, as opposed to that the team serving the leader. So I've always kind of believed in that, and I've had some great leaders and not so great leaders. Not all of my leaders have been role models, but some have. Those people for me, and I can say there's my father and my family. There are people in my network that I go to regularly that I talk about things. So I have had individual role models that I go to do things, and kind of talk ideas through. But I also look for people that I work with or work with in the past that are good leaders. And a good leader to me is somebody that really practices, empathic listening, which is like truly listening to understand. Those that have your back, that are there to support you in your journey. So growth, relationships, etc. Relationships internally within your company. Somebody that really puts the need of their team ahead of their own needs at some level. And I found that, moving through the ranks over time, I've had people that have wanted to follow me in different roles, or have wanted to, see me take over things because of the way that I've managed the teams and worked with the teams. So I think that, it's a combination of a lot of things. It's the people that are close to you, maybe your friends and family that you go to. It's a network of people that have the same characteristics that you look for in a leader, and the kind of leader you want to be. And I do have that within my network, not just the company I work at, but it's usually past companies or people that I know that have been a part of the network, and people that share that kind of same philosophy. And a good leader has people that I think want to follow them, want to continue to work with them, and want to continue to be with them. And I've been lucky enough to have that.
Yeah, I think that seems to be somewhat of a central theme for a lot of the people we talk to. We tend to talk to people who, like you, have had really amazing careers that a lot of people would go, hey, I want to emulate that. I'd love to have a career like that. And when we ask that question, they almost always say, they say lucky, I call it blessed, that they've been blessed to be in places where there were really strong leaders. And you say, well, they're really good at listening. At what point do you think the leader has to take charge, though? Not just listen and go, well, my team wants this, therefore I'm going to make sure it happens. And instead goes, I know they want it, right? Just like as a parent, your kids or child, I don't know if you have multiple, but want things, but sometimes it's not always right. Sometimes it is
servant leadership.
for breakfast.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's a good example, right? But servant leadership isn't in lieu of being a good leader. It's how you lead your team, right? And being an effective listener and an active listener, empathic listener is part of doing that, among many other things. You still have to be a leader or you're not going to be successful being a leader. So yes, there's going to be moments where you're going to listen and you're going to get all the input and then you're going to have to make decisions, right? You're going to have to say, I think based on all the input, this is where we go. But people need to feel that they've been heard. So, it's that's why I bring up active listening or empathic listening. They're often called the same thing. But yeah, you also have to lead. You can't just be a servant leader and not lead, right? So there's lots of things that come.
We should have Shawna and Nina on a show together.
Yeah.
Because Nina talked about then going.
So and then potentially Nina should talk to Shawna's daughter.
Yeah. It's like this, but it's this idea of both listening really, really well, but then also going, okay, but now I need to make a decision. A lot of this was, how do you communicate that throughout the organization? That we have a decision that may or may not be the most popular decision, but here's why. Just so that everyone understands, we heard you and we are listening, whether it's we're changing medical benefits, but it's for a very specific reason. It's not because we just want to line our pockets with money, but because a large portion of the team, this is better for them. And I know it doesn't impact everyone positively, but that's the decision we're making going forward, and here's why. And hers was all about how to communicate that properly amongst the organization.
Yeah, and implementations of decisions have to have data, right? It has to have data that backs it up. And part of that data is listening to other people. What are other ideas, not just on your team, but within the company and anybody it might affect, right? So implementation becomes a lot easier when you have that data. That data comes from listening, talking to people, a bunch of other things, right?
So this has been awesome, and I totally appreciate you being here, but I want to be conscious of time. We're taking up a lot of your day, and I know you got to get back to the AI billboards, but I got a fun question. This is my fun question of the day, and this relates to, so we talked about mentors and role models. Who is your favorite role model from a Christmas movie?
Oh, from a Christmas movie?
Yeah, I only asked this because I
was really hoping you were going to ask that. I was really hoping you were going to.
I got mine.
Oh gosh,
I over the weekend, so I was prepared.
Guys, it's funny. We watched our first Christmas movie last night, and I have a list of Christmas movies that we have to watch.
Which are?
Oh gosh, Family Stone. We just watched The Holiday last night. Elf. We Christmas Vacation. There's like a whole list of them,
the best
right?
one.
That we love actually.
We've done a review on the Christmas Vacation and on Elf and how it has a business takeaways. So
yeah, I love Elf. I love The Family Stone, even though it's kind of sad. But I like the character in Elf because he's just so wide-eyed and open to everything, and all possibilities. So.
All right, so that works. Earlier, you said listening to the CEO and working, being prepared to learn and change and develop. So
because I don't know everything, right? Sometimes you think you do, right, but you don't, right? So
all right, so Elf is your role model. What's your role model?
I don't know. I don't know if I have a Christmas.
Hard question, yeah.
I don't know if I have a Christmas.
I have one.
You answer.
Kevin from Home Alone.
Oh, from Home Alone.
Come on. That kid was, how old was he? He was like 9. And he was the greatest problem solver. Like he just the problems that he was able to solve and defeat the burglars.
He's just bringing this up because of my mugshot where everybody made fun of me for looking like the kid from Home Alone.
Oh,
That is not why. You look a little bit like Macaulay Culkin, but not a lot. But
little.
again, what a great role model. And probably, that I probably was like 15, 12 when it came out. And so it was this like, you watch this kid go through Christmas. He like saved Christmas and defeated the burglars with like the greatest. I mean, it's such a good Christmas movie.
Yeah, it is. I haven't watched that one in a long time. I don't know if that's on my list.
All right. So Shane, who is your favorite?
Never watched.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
We have to host another episode with you on this.
And you're friends?
No, we're not. Not anymore. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Well, Shane's going to have to think about that one.
There's plenty of movies that I have not watched that Taylor's pretty disappointed with. So at least I continue to disappoint. Like consistency is key. That's what I've been.
So who is your role model? Is it Vince Vaughn from Girlfriend's Past or Ghost to Girl?
Four Christmases.
That's not Vince Vaughn.
Four Christmases.
Yeah. 4 Christmases. Yeah.
That's a good one.
So who's your role model?
I don't know if I get to answer this one in time. I can't. Harry Potter from like.
You're
every single one of them.
Harry Potter's a
I'm gonna
Christmas
try.
movie.
I'm gonna do. Harry Potter's a Christmas movie. So I guess I'm gonna have to go with Harry Potter because like magic and dragons.
I do know a lot of people that watch the Harry Potter series over Christmas, though. So
I am actively in my household trying to petition for a full season rewatch.
He is lobbying.
There you go.
All right, so we have some movies people need to watch. Home Alone is actually going to be a required viewing in my household. I thought about it this weekend, and I'm like, it is such a good Christmas movie. So is Christmas Vacation, which is the number one. It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life, of course, yeah.
But that's because I watched it as a kid. So
yeah.
My kids hate it because it's black and white, and they think I'm old. I am old.
I was obsessed with 8 Crazy Nights for a while, but that's a Hanukkah movie. That's a whole. It's not Christmas, but it's like it is the season, and I love it.
Part of the season, yeah.
Adam
Sandler's awesome.
Adam Sandler's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Shawna, thank you so much for joining us. How can our guests get a hold of you? How can people are listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I love her, the way she thinks about both being a leader and making decisions, but empathetic listening, and where Headspace is going and how I can join and everything else. How can the listeners get a hold of you, either ask you more questions or because they're really intrigued into Headspace and they want to find out more? What can they do?
Yeah, you can reach out on LinkedIn. I have lots of folks reach out on LinkedIn just saying, hey, I'd love, to talk to you about this or that based on your experience. So I think that's a good start. So it's just Shawna Kovacs, my name in, one word, linkedin.com, /in/Shawna Kovacs. So
perfect. So SHAWNA and then last name KOVACS.
Yes.
Okay, so go find Shawna on LinkedIn, connect with Shawna, and ask questions, ask away. Also, you guys can, by doing so, you can get to Headspace as well and go to their website and find out more about what Headspace is up to and what they're doing. So again, thank you guys so much for listening. More importantly, Shawna, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was super fun.
And good luck to your daughter in her getting her master's.
Thank you.
All right. So everyone, like, comment, connect, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.